Hi, friend, and welcome here into this first module inside of the Foundations of Peptide Therapy course. I'm your lead instructor, Dr. Melissa Peterson, the founder here at the Human Longevity Institute. And right now, we are about to explore and understand what are peptides as I introduce you to this beautiful world of small molecules. As you go through this course, you're going to be hearing and learning from some other amazing experts and some of our guest instructors like Dr. Kent Holtorf. So let's go ahead and first give ourselves a frame of how we're going to look at what we're doing. So, as clinicians, as coaches, you're out there working with other human beings. Inside of the Human Longevity Institute, we have a variety of certifications and curriculums where we are training you on really how to have a systems approach to not just treating problems, but to actually meeting your clients where they're at and give them a proven path forward to healing, health, and thriving over the course of a long lifetime lived well. And so when we begin to look at this and we understand what breaks down health, what accelerates the rate and pace of aging that leads to decline, sickness, and disease. And if we can slow that down, can we also subsequently reduce that rate and risk of disease and improve health and optimized living? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. And the solution is when we have a way to precisely pair lifestyle with molecules and therapeutic technologies, we can get incredible results that are lasting. And so, right now, we're going to dive into one key piece of the puzzle as we look at molecules. And so, the idea is about 71% of the population is already sick. So, we call this in our programs the longevity health continuum. And from an allopathic sick care model, we've all been trained to deal with this side of the spectrum. So homeostasis balance, we all know what that is, right? It's that equilibrium state that the body is always attempting to achieve. That's kind of its set ready state. Now, when things become overloaded, there starts to be breakdown, dysfunction, disease. We move away from homeostasis. We go into that unbalanced all the way down into that diseased state. And so in healthcare, we are constantly spending the majority of our energy trying to to identify and treat the root cause, the problems that are leading to this disease state. And so then we try to put things back in to get our patients back to homeostasis. And that is phenomenal. Now, that is what we refer to in our programs as foundational health. But what we are not taught as clinicians, as any type of clinician, is what do we do once they're at homeostasis? So some of us would call that preventative care or maintenance care or wellness care. But what does that really mean? And how do you communicate that to the patient? And what actually becomes possible in the human system? So, what we teach inside of all of our longer certification programs is this side of the equation. How do you meet your clients where they're at? Give them foundational healing solutions that move them successfully back to homeostasis instead of taking two steps forward and three steps back, getting them well, and then they go out and get sick again until they need to come back in and get, a tune up, and then they go get sick again. That's no way of living. Like the body is always under distress, always. From the moment we are conceived, we begin aging. That's just the natural process of what it means to be human and alive. We are metabolic creatures that we are building up and tearing down. And there's this metabolic waste that's left over as a result. And as we start to have more and more build up, tear down, we have more and more waste accumulate, right? I'm just keeping it very simple right now as we go through our life. And so we kind of just think that it's inevitable. We're going to feel like crap. And the best we can do is decrease those symptoms. But the human body is designed to actually evolve forward, to get better and stronger. It's in our very DNA. And so this is where we go into how do we actually create recovery, resilience, repair, increased performance, capacity, strength, ability, overall aliveness as a human being. Now, again, that's our full longevity system. That's in our larger programs, which you'll learn more about. It's inside of our guide. If you want to ever explore, you can always go to humanlongevity.institute.com to learn more about that. But I'm telling you this today because we're looking at these small molecules and we're saying, okay, in a moment, I'm going to help you to understand what a peptide is and also what it's not. But when would you use these? Because the beautiful thing about peptides is that you can use them at every part of this longevity continuum. So when somebody comes in, 71% of the people coming in with problems, you're going to meet them where they're at. And you're about to learn in this course how you will have foundational healing support, foundational healing protocols and interventions that you can automatically stack into what you're currently doing with the clients and patients you're supporting. Now, once we get back towards homeostasis, right? Like then we can begin to use these peptides for more targeted outcomes. And finally, we can move down that spectrum into optimization, really enhancing outcomes. So not just kind of managing problems, but actually producing enhanced solutions, outcomes, expression, vitality, and performance in every way. So it's a really exciting field. I want to welcome you guys into it. And again, these peptides and small molecules, and there's multiple molecules that go under that classification. We teach all about those inside of our precision longevity course. But in this course, again, we're just really focusing on these peptides. And there are truly six key categories where they are most typically used from a clinical standpoint. Now, I want to be clear to let you know that there are hundreds of peptides out there. I think at this time we've got about it's just under 100 that have been FDA approved, and there's also changes in the FDA. We're going to talk about that in the legality section, so more on that to come. But what we're going to really break down in this particular course are about the top 17 most commonly used, most widely researched with the highest safety profile, so that again you can appreciate kind of where you can use them and bring them in across your care plans with your clients. So as you move through this course, the different modules ahead will break these down. Okay, so this is what's coming up. But now let's just dive into why we're really here. We're here to talk about peptides. What are they? So if you're brand new to this, it's really fascinating. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to raise my hand and admit it. When I first started to learn about peptides, it was kind of like, ooh, what are they? It feels like something secret, something like, wait, is this something I should know? Should I already know this? Do I not know it? Because there's so little just open information we have as clinicians come to really make these little buggers more complicated, more difficult in our brains than what they really are. So I'm going to break this down for you, okay? So a peptide are small chains of amino acids. Now, amino acids, they are the building blocks of proteins, right? So the little amino acids come together, make the proteins, and we know that amino acids, proteins are literally the building blocks of life. So in case you're not aware, anytime that your DNA, which is for everything in the body, is replicated, that process of transcribing, of replicating and creating, it's all done with proteins. Your DNA, your genetic code is all proteins. Everything in the body is proteins. So protein is really important. Amino acids, the smaller components that make the bigger proteins, all these things form, like they just form little structures. And these structures come together to serve different roles. Now, peptides specifically are signaling molecules. Okay, so they are signaling molecules, and they can also be enzymes, again, building blocks for the larger proteins that can even go ahead and they can act also as hormones. And I'm going to explain the difference as we go through this here today. But here's some differences I want to point out. Unlike a full protein, a larger structure, they're longer, they're more complex. Peptides are short. So this is really the key here. They're short and they're highly specific. So they're very targeted in their actions, and they are on average 2 to 50 amino acids in length. So over here, we're just seeing this lovely little picture of how these little amino acids are bonding together. Okay. And so when they bond together in a very specific formation, then what that really does is the best way to think of it is as if they are a key to a specific lock. So the way these amino acids come together, whether it's BPC or LL37 or CJC, 1295, whatever, like these funky letters and numbers, well, they're just code for the names of what these amino acids, how many amino acids are bonded together. And so when they bond, like I said, they form shapes. And so you're going to think of these different ones as individual keys. And these keys go onto receptor sites, specific receptor sites on the cell. And then they fit right in. Now, here's what becomes really important. When that key fits, we turn it, it opens a door, right? So these doors that open inside of our cells open so they are specific in where they land, but then they open up to multiple functions. And we'll break that down a little bit more in a few minutes. So what happens is it opens up multiple functions within that cell or even different cells and systems across the body. So a great example, and we will talk about BPC a lot throughout this course because it's such a great example of the multifunctionality of these little small short chain amino acids. So one peptide might signal your body to produce more growth hormone, but another peptide is going to promote muscle growth and recovery, while still another might enhance your body's ability to burn fat. So they are specific. They do different things. They signal in different ways across the cells and across different systems of the body. Here's what's really fascinating about these little powerhouses is that they are targeted. I just got done telling you they will target and they will fit at a specific receptor. Okay. They're also pleiotropic. So, what does that mean? Pleiotropic means kind of wide, like it's got multiple benefits, multiple effects. It can be used in multiple ways. Now, this is where things get a little confusing. You might go, Melissa, how is something targeted and pleiotropic? And also, it's fascinating. Okay. So, this is where, again, a single peptide can trigger multiple beneficial effects throughout the body. So here's how it only interacts with certain receptors. Okay, so that's the targeted. So it's not going to affect all receptors. It's only going to work on targeted specific receptors. So it's only going to affect those areas where those receptors are present. Okay, like with BPC, BPC is going to affect the receptors that are putting out the little signal to the soft tissue. It really, really works in these soft tissue aspects within the body. So, because it can go in, the dual nature allows peptides to then provide a broad range of benefits while maintaining this precision. So, again, that's how they can go into a specific area. Once they get in there, they can do multiple things. And we'll keep talking about BPC throughout the course. So again, BPC, it doesn't just promote. So here's an example. Like, look at this really pretty picture, right? So here comes that amino acid. It's coming in to that receptor site and it's opening this very specific doorway. And BPC doesn't just promote the repair of muscle tissue. It also supports the healing of gut health, of the gut lining, reduces inflammation in the system. It does multiple things, okay? But it acts on these specific receptors. So hopefully, and here's I think what's really, really beautiful. Because it only affects these specific receptors and it is targeted, that means it doesn't cause unwanted actions or in unrelated systems. And one of the things that we do talk about that has come up about BPC specifically is that it promotes angiogenesis. Okay, so that's going to help in tissue healing. It's going to help to bring in increased circulation, okay, kind of blood flow to that area, which promotes that healing of the tissue. But listen to this, it acts on specific receptors. So there's been a correlation to say, oh, wait a minute, if somebody has cancer, in a cancerous situation, if angiogenesis is active, it can actually increase or proliferate cancer. Okay, sure. So there's been this kind of generalization to say, wait, there could be this. We got to be really cautious. Could BPC be cancer promoting? Okay, that's the question out there. And here's what I want you to know is that the way this is a very targeted receptor and it doesn't act on those other receptors in the cancer. Okay, just because it creates angiogenesis when there is a wounded tissue over here, it doesn't act across every cell in the body. It's not going to just find any area and go, it's going to only respond to that specific site. And once that tissue is healed, that signal goes away and the lock doesn't go in that key anymore and it doesn't affect it anymore. So this is some of the beauty and how safe and effective because currently medications that we are prescribed, they are different. They don't signal, they evoke an action response, right? So they are turning something on or something off. They are overriding, in essence, kind of that innate intelligence in the body. They're not necessarily working with it. The idea or philosophy behind most medications is you're either deficient in this or you got too much of it. So we've either got to block it to turn it off, ignore the signals of it, or, right, we need more. So we're going to put more into the system. It's not saying, well, how do we stimulate those pathways to support the body to naturally signal the mechanisms to make more or less? And this is why peptides are so powerful, because they are signalers. They're not going to override. They're not going to force. They are there present in the body. And as it is needed, they signal these pathways of these responses.